Welcome to Fabulous Women Over 40, hosted by celebrity stylist Kara Allan. Join Kara as she interviews amazing women, sometimes younger and amazing men as well, in their 40s and beyond. Here's Kara with our Fabulous Woman of the Day.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Fabulous Women Over 40, where we curate conscious conversations with women and men who are impacting the world. I'm your host, Kara Allan, celebrity stylist and personal brand image consultant. And today, my guest is an Emmy award-winning anchor who's been waking up audiences in the DC area since 1999. Please welcome the fabulous Allison Seymour.
Hi.
Hey, how are you today?
Great. We finally connected.
Yes. So sorry, my maintenance person just came in. Lovely. So tell us a little bit about your upbringing and your family. Like, where did you grow up?
So I have a really sort of interesting story. I was born in Brooklyn, New York, but I only lived there for 6 months because my dad was in the Peace Corps. So yeah, so it's kind of like I have yet to find somebody who has this exact journey as I do. But so at 6 months, we went overseas, and my dad was he had been a volunteer, but he went back as a director. And so we were in Ibadan, Nigeria for the first 2 years of my life. And for the next 2 years, we were in southern India. And then my dad had gotten actually hurt. He had a car accident when we were in Nigeria on the tail end. I think it was, from what I can see, the records, it was like 1969. So I would have been almost 3 years old at this point. And when he took the next assignment in India, just the rigor of it, he really, he had sustained this head injury. He had double vision. So he was then on sabbatical leave from the government, which meant for us, we did a lot of, because they were basically wonderful bohemian sort of, children of 60s and 70s, these people. And so we moved around a couple of we lived on an island called Bequay. It's just the wildest thing. It's like 6 square miles. And then we lived in Miami for a year. And then my dad went to ministerial school in Kansas City. So we lived there for 2 years. And then but in between all of it was DC. And so, I basically touched DC. The earliest, I guess, was like maybe 5 when we first came back to the States. And then then we spent a while here, then moved around a bit and all of this. So I call DC home, but truly my upbringing was a little, unconventional. And in the, in the sort of space that I didn't go to, like at one point, by the time I graduated high school, I had gone to like 14 different schools. So it was a different upbringing, but what we had is a really close family unit. And so, wherever we were, by the time we got home, we were all together. It just felt like, okay, where are we now? So it's not an easy question to answer, Kara. It's like all over the place. Right. But DC, for the most part, has been home for most of my life. And I also have a soft spot for Charleston, South Carolina, because that's where I spent all my summers, my Christmases. My grandparents were there. So my parents did a good job of giving me that sort of normalcy. So between DC and Charleston, like, I'm all over the place. But I'm grateful because my parents are no longer with us. And so, I think of those years fondly because I have yet to meet somebody who grew up exactly like I grew up.
Well, that's so cool. You define the definition of citizen of the world, honestly. You got it honest. But how cool is that? I mean, you probably met a ton of different people, saw so much culture, and most people don't get that kind of experience at such a young age. I mean, that's such a Man, what a benefit and a plus to have in your back pocket. Uh-oh.
All you want when you're growing up is normalcy. But looking back now at my age, it was just the coolest. And I think it helped to make me who I am, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's such a cool thing. Yeah, at the time, I mean, I moved quite a bit when I was in high school too, and it was just like, this is terrible. Always being the new person,
Yeah.
and everybody's looking at you like,
Right.
like it was not fun. But now I feel like I could talk to anybody, anywhere
Exactly.
because I had that experience.
Exactly. Me too. So I'm grateful.
So
Yeah.
yes. So did you know at a young age that you wanted to be on TV?
Well, the funny thing, and it's a funny story, and I tell it, I tell it often because it's a true story. But when I was a little girl, like I'm going to say maybe 6 or so, I remember
Mm.
watching television and I didn't realize what I was watching. I was watching a promo of like news people. So you've got the news people in the community, like, and you've got the jingle, and then they look all happy. And what I know now is I'm watching a promo spot. But then when I saw that, I knew that, okay, these people aren't actors, but I didn't really know what they did, but I knew that they were in the community. And so I'm
Right.
like, that's what I want to do. Like, I recognize where they are, and people are
Mm.
so happy to see them. And I think that's what I want to do, weirdly. And then when I was in high school, my mother was like, hey, have you ever thought about like studying communications when you go to college? Because I think you'd be a good reporter. And so all
Mm.
these things just sort of lined up. I'm a person, I don't believe in any coincidence really, but yeah, the stars were like, okay, we're pushing you into this career because we think you do okay in it. So the short answer is, yeah, I guess I always knew what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so where did you go to school for communication?
So I went to Hampton University. I
Mm-hmm.
went so long ago; it was institute, and then when I was there, it changed to university. And that was those years were really important for me because as a child who moved around a lot, it was important to have some sort of stability and normalcy. So that was the time that I could really control it. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, I'm going in here as a freshman, and I'm leaving here with the diploma as a senior. I'm not going anywhere. So yeah,
I know that's right.
so my some of my best friends are there, and that I met during those years. So I went to Hampton and really didn't get exactly everything that I needed to be prepared. So I ended up going to grad school too. I went to the University of South Carolina. I was dating a guy that I actually ended up marrying. So Mark is my second husband, and so it's almost like two different lives. Like first
Mm.
part A and then part B, but yeah, life. But yeah, that's so between those two things, I got the education, but I still couldn't get a job. So 5 years after I graduated from college was when I landed my first on-air job, and I was doing everything behind the scenes, and I was also working in retail and at a coffee shop and all this. So my path wasn't like a straight one, but
Right.
it was worth it. And yeah, so thank goodness I persevered because once I got there, I didn't let it go.
Right.
Yeah, yeah,
So it sounds like your mom was probably one of your big supporters. Did she help nurture
yeah.
your gift of? Did you like
This,
talk to everybody, to everybody you met? Like,
oh,
how did you?
doesn't sound like that. That makes me so happy because I lost her. Like I still talk to her like she's here with me.
Uh,
But she passed away, and I turned 50, and literally 8 days afterwards, she passed. And I always think like she made some sort of pact, like, okay, God, just let me live. If this child can't do it on her own at 50, I don't know what. So yeah, but she was a huge influence, and my father was too. They were just, I mean, it was they're literally my foundation. They were my rock. They were the reason why I was able to have like 3 kids in 4 years because they truly were like Papa and Big Mama, from like that. You
uh,
know what I mean? They were the ones who looked after the girls when they were young and allowed which freed me up to be able to work, especially in morning television, because my husband
Mm-hmm.
also worked morning radio. So they were just a godsend. And I'm so glad my girls got to know them before they passed away. But you're absolutely right. My mom was, it was difficult. I wasn't sure how I was going to be able to really move, carry on, be who I am fully without her. But sure enough, they pour into you, and I received all of it. So yeah, I received it all.
That's so cool. So were you an only child
Well,
or
so no. So I have a brother, and
okay.
but we're 4 years apart, and
Hmm.
sadly we are not on speaking terms now, which is terrible. I
Oh,
hate to even say that, but I think that my truth is a lot of people's truth, and
mhm.
for I think that once we lost our parents, things sort of fell apart between us, which I think
Yeah,
happens sometimes. Or, even if it doesn't, that's been my experience. So
yeah,
yeah. And so I was, yeah, we were a close little family. And then I just think that things, life, people process things differently.
yeah,
And I just, some people, even though you're close, you have to let them go for a while,
yeah,
and hopefully we come back together. But as a grown up, I have to look out for my family and make sure that I'm
yeah.
okay. So yeah, but it does sound like that, right? I'm a single child. That's probably what he would say too. But yeah, I do have a
Well,
sibling.
yeah,
Yeah.
and the thing is, I had just heard, I think it was a TikTok
Hmm.
that was talking about how you could have siblings that are born and raised in the same family, but they weren't necessarily raised by the same parents in a sense because,
Yes.
like you, there's different iterations of
Hmm.
the parent going through their life
Right.
and their growth and
Agree.
whatever. So you probably were, even though you're only 4 years apart, you probably had different processes of
Yes.
and iterations of life, which is what
It
it
is what it
is,
is.
right?
It is. And who was it? I listened to Mariah Carey's autobiography, as she says to her brother and sister, "Go in love," and that's how I feel. Go in love.
Yeah.
Go in love,
I
please.
bless and release you.
I bless and release you. I don't need the drama. My job is filled with drama enough, so I'm okay.
Right.
Yes.
So what would you tell your younger self if there anything you would do differently
Hmm.
about how you went about your career or
Hmm.
your married life
Yeah.
or friendships or what?
You know, um, I think everything had to happen as it did. Let me just start by
Mm,
saying that. But I think
right.
I definitely had to find my voice. I had to
Yeah.
find, almost like President Obama would say, like the audacity to think that you can be in a career that you don't know anybody in, that,
Right.
even in Washington, D.C., that you can dare to dream as a black girl that you're going to come back and be on television in a top 10 market in the nation's
Mm,
capital. I think I would have found that voice a little earlier. I would have told myself that it's okay to, when you walk into a room, make your presence known. It's okay to,
mm,
if you don't agree with something, say it. And
right.
and so for me that would be really it. But everything else,
Hmm.
the timing was just right, though it felt very frustrating. I had so many jobs again behind the scenes, and I knew I wanted to be on camera, but I
Hmm.
just didn't really know how to navigate it, how to do it. But now I realize that all of those experiences just sort of helped me understand the business from all different angles. And
Right.
I think it makes me a more well rounded uh, newsroom colleague, if you will. So I've
Right.
done several jobs
Yeah.
in the newsroom, and so I really wouldn't do anything differently. But I would tell my younger self, just have a little bit more self confidence. Just
Mm-hmm.
when you walk into a room, don't be afraid to go up and shake somebody's hand and say, "Hey, I'd like to be in the news business." Versus letting things happen. I would take
Right.
charge more. But overall, the path that I took, it's a funny one. Like, I worked for a company called Trucker TV, and
Hmm.
you know, weird as that is, I was a production assistant for this company that put news all across the country and in Canada at truck stops. And so, very random. It ended up going out of
Interesting.
business, but, that was one of my jobs. So like, who gets to say that, so
Right.
change anything.
Right.
Yeah.
I think when I first met you, you were on Fox still because we talked about
Oh,
shoes,
yeah.
like what were great shoes. So now is there big differences between the stations? Like you're on
Right.
Channel 9
Yeah.
now, right?
There, you know
So
what?
how's that?
There is, sorry, Karen, not to cut you off. There is,
No, you're good.
it's just a difference in vibe, just the way that when I think of WUSA 9, I think of like JC Hayward and Maureen
Mhm.
Bunyan and,
Right.
Andrea Rowan and,
Right.
Bruce Johnson. These are like the pillars in
Yeah.
our business, especially in DC. And,
Mhm.
I feel like the station also it's a little bit more traditional. It's a little bit,
Mhm.
less, boom, 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 flashy, flashy, and all this sort of walking around and moving and all that. And so that's that. And there is definite like comfort and stability in that. And then my Fox years, 21 years at Fox 5, it was, it was, Fox just came along, the news stations. Like I remember
Mhm.
when In Living Color was on, and this was this new sort of network, and
Right.
that's really what they were. They did things flashy, and they have all the fun music, and they have this and that. So it's definitely a difference.
Right.
But I'm going to tell you, none of that matters if you are feeling disrespected
Mhm.
and overlooked at a certain point,
Right.
and you're
Mhm.
wondering, am I getting, like, do these people see me as too old to be here or too,
Right.
whatever to be here? And so there just comes a time when you have to walk away from things that are really comfortable because
Yeah.
they're not really comfortable, right? So you know what I
Right.
mean? Like, so you're in a marriage that's not really great, or, they're talking to you kind of, a little reckless, or you're making you feel a certain way, but he's got the insurance. And so I'm just going to stay. No. So
Mhm.
for me, it just, I was able to walk away, though I love all of the people that I worked with, the different reporters and the producers and the writers and my co-anchors. But, it's just, and I think a lot of people can relate, especially over 40, that
Yeah.
if you feel like something isn't right, like I don't think I'm being treated the way I should be treated,
Mhm.
especially after putting on all these years at this company, then let me see what else is out there. So the stations are very different, but I'm going to tell you, I would rather have, I'd rather, how about this? I'd rather have a reliable car that's going to work versus
Right.
a sports car that looks good and I'm not going anywhere. So, and that's no disrespect, no shade. But it's like CBS versus like, flashy Fox. So
Like, yeah.
there is a
Yeah.
difference, but I am where I am supposed to be. And I'm good
Yeah.
with that. I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did you have any mentors when you were coming up in the business, and did you get to meet any of them, or were they like just Oprah somewhere
Yeah, no,
or Barbara Walters?
I had nobody. That's my thing. Like, I remember being an intern at Channel 4 when I was in college. Let me see, that would have been my senior year in college. And
Mm.
I remember, like, looking at Jim Vance across the room, like, oh my gosh, it's Jim Vance. You know what I mean? These are like the people that I had grown up weirdly, like high school, because we came back to DC for good when I was in 10th, 11th grade. So,
Mm.
this is the heyday. This is
Right.
Jim Vance on. It used to be another gentleman that I'm blanking on his name right now, but this is the heyday for that, like the
Mhm.
early '80s, I guess. And but never didn't have one mentor, did not know anyone, and was
Wow.
trying to figure it out. So, but I had internships and
Yeah.
I had the desire, though I
Mhm.
didn't know how to get there necessarily. So
Yeah.
it worked out, but no, I did not have any mentors. That's why I
Yeah.
try to really talk to people, young people in the
Yeah.
business, but at the end of the day, you're the one that's going to have to put in the work. Like, I can
Mhm.
give young people all the advice in the world, but sadly I don't have hiring power. I can refer you, but
Yeah.
so but I definitely believe that mentorship is so important. Sadly,
Yeah.
sadly, I just did not have anyone.
Yeah. I just remember how Oprah was talking about when she was getting interviewed about that radio contest that she won,
Yeah.
and she said that she just said she wanted to be a journalist or whatever she said,
Yeah.
like Barbara Walters, but she realized over time that she made a better Oprah than she did trying to be a
Oh,
fake Barbara
right,
Walters.
right, right.
You know?
And she really
So
did. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, and we're back.
You have some
It's been a
attitude because that would be like, Lord, get your phone together, girl. But
Trust me, I've been doing this now for I don't know. You're my 13th. Maybe that's
oh,
something. The 13th episode,
that's a
and it's
lucky
like
number.
it is,
Yes,
and it's like you have to be ready to roll with the punches because stuff always happens. You know, it's just new. And in news, you know this too.
yes,
Somebody walks by that's not supposed to.
right.
Somebody's yelling.
Always.
So speaking of that, what's the craziest thing that happened to you, like when you were on air that wasn't like scripted and then or expected, and
Right.
then how did you handle it?
Oh my gosh. It's been so many little wacky things. Mostly it's like starting to laugh when it's not funny and you
Right.
stop laughing. And so then I'm always like, okay, think of something really, really sad. Or think of like, and now with social media, think of people like, going in on you on social media and stop laughing.
Oh God.
You know what I mean? So recall any one thing that ever really happened. But that to me, that's just the collective. You're either coughing, you can't stop it, embarrassing and ugly on television, or like you're laughing and it's not a funny moment. You just can't stop. So
Right.
I think
Or even if it is funny and you can't
and
stop.
you can't stop, right? And you can't stop.
You're like, oh my God, my body's taking away with me and I don't know what to do.
Uh, yes.
So what advice, if any, would you give to an up and coming person who wanted to be on TV?
Ooh. I would just tell them first of all, just to even get on TV. It's when you think about like the number of jobs versus like the people who apply for these jobs, right? It can be
Mm,
really daunting. It can like I think about that often of the morning news anchors. So there are 4 different stations looking just at
mm,
ABC, NBC, Fox, CBS, and maybe like 2 people who do the job at each station. And
right.
right after I stopped feeling super grateful that I'm even in this position, I just take it so seriously. I would tell anybody trying to get in, please get in for the right reasons. Please understand that your storytelling is impactful. It can
Mm,
change lives. It can improve lives. Um, but on the flip side, just make sure you're responsible with it too, because I think in this time of division and people sort of projecting their own negative stereotypes on different groups of people. And I really
yeah.
believe where we are is in a crisis mode as far as the violence that we're seeing that's affecting our communities. And so
Mm,
your stories they carry weight and they can really improve or they can do damage. And so I would just
right.
tell anyone, first of all, if you really have a burning desire to tell stories, to be almost like an old fashioned griot, if you're in my position, sitting on an anchor desk and just framing all of the day's stories for the public. Just do it for the right reasons because it
Mm,
might look a little bit glamorous and it's a lot of fun but we do our own makeup and hair for the most part, at least I do.
right.
And you know it carries a lot of weight. So I would just tell
Mm-hmm,
people to just you got to have a love for news at the end of the day,
mm-hmm.
and you've got to have a love for, I think, people, because basically we're in the people business of giving information that's
Yeah.
so impactful to your communities. So just get into it
Mm-hmm.
for the right reason, but understand, if you can check all those boxes, then you can definitely do it. I don't care if you didn't know anybody, or if you didn't study it in
Right.
school even. If you've got a passion for it, you can get it done. You can do it
Yeah.
for sure.
Cool. Is there somebody that you would love to interview that you haven't had a chance to
Oh,
interview yet?
yes. So it used to be Toni Morrison, and
Hmm.
of course we lost her not too long ago. She's this
Yeah.
fascinating mind. I would love to have interviewed her. And
Hmm.
Tina Turner, she is my idol
Yes.
for all time. I would love to. I had a chance. I had a chance when I lived in upstate New York in Albany. She was in concert and there was a press opportunity, but at the last minute, she changed her mind. And I'm like, whatever, whatever, diva, in a great way. You are the grande dame, the diva of all time. If you want to change your mind, okay. But inside, I was crushed. But
Right,
there's that.
right.
And then Billy Porter, I would love to interview Billy Porter. And you
Yeah.
you can see a theme here. It seems like, I know you're like, what serious newsmakers would you like to interview?
No, it's
Michelle
all
Obama,
good.
please,
Yes.
that's on the bucket list. Michelle Obama too. And
Yeah.
I, especially being at CBS, I have a real love for Gayle King. Um, because when I
Mm-hmm.
look at her, I see someone who's had so many different, you used the word before, but iterations on her career. And I just feel
Mm-hmm.
like she is a rock in journalism and with what I do. And I love looking at her as a woman who is a little bit older than me. So I can see that there is a path, because in this
Mm-hmm.
business, it's, let's be honest, you don't see a whole lot of women who are older. You see a lot of men who are older, but not a whole lot of women
Yeah.
who are older. And so when I look at her, I just think, wow, what a survivor. How relatable she is. Just, she's a mom, she's a grandmom, she's, she at one point
Mm-hmm.
a single mom being divorced. And so those are five quick ones. If they're listening, I would love to interview all
We'll
five of you
definitely put
guys.
that out there on the manifestation list for you.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
That would be great. So, do you have
Okay.
anything coming up that you want us to support you on? Any events? Any fun things we can tune into to see you having coming up?
Now, Kara, I
Uh
lost
oh.
you a little bit, and I think you're frozen now.
Oh, am I? I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Let me hold the phone differently.
Woohoo!
Can you hear me?
I can. You're frozen to me, but I can hear you.
Kara, can you hear me? You're frozen, I think. I am.
We
Oh, you're
almost made
frozen
it all
to
the way
me.
through.
Okay. Wait a minute. Can you hear me though?
I can hear you.
Oh,
Let's see.
the
I'm gonna text you.
gremlins. Can you hear? Let me see. Okay.
Can hear you.
Oh, you can. Okay. Okay. Cool. Cool. Okay. All right. And I think I have you better now. If you would not mind repeating that last question. Uh-oh. Okay.
Okay, can you hear me
I
now?
can. Can you see? Uh-oh.
Okay.
I got you.
Can you hear me now?
I can. I got you. Got
Okay. Yeah. Um, what was I saying? Oh yes. Do you have anything coming up that we
you.
can
Oh.
check you out or support you on?
Oh. No, I think I think everything is just the show. So, you can catch me on Get Up DC, 4:25 to 7, Monday through Friday. Um,
Mm-hmm.
uh, that's really what I'm doing right now. I have some other things in the works, but nothing that I'm ready to talk about yet, but hopefully
Okay.
soon. Hopefully soon. But where I know I'll be is WUSA 9 in the mornings. That's for sure.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And they can connect with you on your social media as well.
Absolutely. I'm Twitter, Instagram. I'm trying to be on TikTok, but I can't really get it together. So all of those.
TikTok is another animal.
Oh my gosh, it's a whole nother thing. So yeah, but that's how you can that's how you can get in touch. And the big thing that I'm preparing for right now, and this is kind of special to me as a graduate of a historically Black college, that I was asked to do the Bowie State winter commencement speech. And so that's kind of keeping me up at night. But I decided to sort of step out of my comfort zone a little bit because I enjoy speaking, but just the lead up to it is, it keeps me up. And this is for me, it's super important because, it's having 2 kids in college myself. I understand like the perseverance to get to the finish line for these graduates and their families. So that's what I'm working on right now, delivering that speech later this month. But you can catch me on Get Up DC every day.
Well, you're going to do fabulous.
Thank you.
One last question for you. What legacy do you want to leave the world?
When people think of me and my legacy and my time here in Washington, I want them really to think she always spoke her mind on the air, even when it wasn't comfortable or popular for some people. I want people to, on air and off air, to say, I really felt like I knew her. Like I felt like if I saw her in the street, we could have a great conversation, and we could kiki and we could laugh and we could cry, and because I think she was a real person. And so my legacy, if it's nothing else, it wouldn't be any awards or accolades or even time on TV. It would just be that, she was a compassionate person who really cared about other people. And that would be good enough for me.
Yeah, I've always found you very approachable, and you're just very welcoming to people who come up and want to just chat with you, even if it's for a moment. So I really appreciate that about you.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying it. Thank you.
You're welcome. And thanks so much for having this conversation with me and persevering through all of our tech issues.
We made it.
Yeah, sometimes you just got to laugh and keep going.
And I appreciate
what
that.
do you do?
Thank you for that.
No problem.
All right.
So have a good rest of your day.
Thank
I
you.
can't wait to talk to you again when you're ready to talk about your things coming up. Just let me know and we'll do this again.
In the new year, hopefully I'll have some more news.
Oh, hopefully it'll be done.
Thanks, Kara.
All right.
Okay.
Take care.
Okay, you too.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us today. Please subscribe so you won't miss our next Conscious Conversation with Kara and her fabulous guests. Follow Kara on social, on Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, Clubhouse, @Kara Allan, and connect with her on her website at karaallan.com. Also, leave a review if you enjoyed the conversation. Thanks again, and see you next time.